If you do some Googling, there's close to 30 songs that they say have something in it about, especially kids, becoming active shooters. You've got singers and songwriters get it. Why aren't we getting it? When was Columbine? Anybody know?
93, wasn't it?
99. That's when I really started getting interested in all this. Anybody know the names of the two young men that were involved in Columbine shooting? Eric Harris, the other one. I'll tell you why this sort of became a personal thing for me. Back in late 80s, early 90s, I was in the Air Force stationed in Oscoda, Michigan. I worked with Eric Harris's dad. Every 6 weeks he would come out on work. When I would drive home at night, I would go past their house. I would see Captain Harris's kids out there playing, seemed like normal kids. What occurred over those 10 years, it went from this normal little kid playing basketball with the neighbors every year and turned him into a murderer with mental issues. That happened and we're still not addressing this. You've got the Federal Bureau of Investigation. How many people have the FBI here? That's what I thought. They do some very fine reports. They do some very fine studies. And they will tell you how many occurred, where they occurred, who did them. Some of the reports that you can get that they don't release to the general public will also look at the effectiveness of the individual shooter. How many hits on target? That's an important thing to know if you're looking at it from a law enforcement perspective. It's also an important thing to know if you're going to try to defend yourself in one of these situations. What kind of weapon do you think achieves the most hits on target during an active shooting? Any guesses? What's that?
Long gun?
What kind of long gun? 12-gauge shotgun, most hits on target. So people saying, oh, the AR-15s, oh, they're so evil, they're so bad. Don't even come close to the hits on target achieved by shotguns during these things. If you see somebody with an AR, I would much rather see somebody with an AR-15 coming after me than I would somebody with a 12-gauge. Especially because active shooters are they're all cowards. Most of them are untrained, and it takes some training to put hits on target with an AR-15 or with a handgun. Shotgun, you can get lucky. Point, and you're sending, if you're using double-aught buck, you're sending 9 rounds headed that way. And where you might get lucky and hit somebody once with an AR-15, with that 12-gauge shotgun, boom, 9 rounds, you can put them on target just like that. That's another thing the FBI looks at. Do you know the one thing that the FBI does not keep track of when it comes to active shootings?
Mental state?
Yeah, and something a little more than that. Along the same lines, they don't keep track of whether or not the shooter was on or had been on psychotropic drugs. Why do you suppose that is? Here are some research from private individuals listing shooters that were on psychotropic drugs. There's 4 pages here. I think some of the FBI buddies would probably get mad if they put that out there, wouldn't they? Big Pharma would not like that a bit. So as we get into this, first thing I got to do is start off with a disclaimer. Disclaimer is, I am not currently a law enforcement officer. I am not an attorney. What I pass on to you is my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. But I will tell you, I have been in security, law enforcement, loss prevention for over 40 years, getting close to 50 years. I've been involved in active shooter training and awareness since 2012. I'm currently, in my current position, company, close to 20,000 people. I am the active shooter instructor for the company, active shooter awareness. This is sort of something that I live and breathe. What I tell you, I'm not telling you to hurt anybody's feelings. I am telling you this stuff so you can be aware, you can be ready. And I hope you never do have to use anything I tell you about. But if you do, I want you to have it in your mind. Because if you never think about it, you will not be ready. If you take some of the things I tell you, some of the ways you can prepare yourself to be ready today, it will be fantastic because at least you'll have it in your mind. If you want to be really good at it, you're going to kind of run through it in an ongoing manner so it sort of gets ingrained in your head. The way you plan, the way you train is the way you are going to react when the real situation comes along. That's what we're working towards. Today we want to improve your situational awareness. We want you to have some kind of understanding of the behaviors we're looking at and how you should respond to these. We want to prepare you to act under stress. That's real hard to do in this scenario, but I'll do my best. Anybody tell me what the definition of an active shooter is?
An aggressive person with a firearm.
That's a good start. Aggressive person with a firearm who is in the act of illegally shooting people, one or more people. You can find all kinds of definitions. I think anybody would know if you're in a situation, you got a nut coming at you with a gun and he's trying to shoot whoever he can. Active shooter. Why do we call it active aggressor? Because we're not in just a world of shooters right now. You look in countries where they cannot get firearms, they're using swords, they're using knives, they're using whatever. And I would much rather go after somebody with a handgun than somebody with a sword. Once you know what you're doing. What causes folks to become active shooters? I don't know. I think people could probably get a pretty good idea if they would really take a look at some of the behaviors, some of the stressors that these folks face. You look in the young man in that song we just listened to. He was a guy who was picked on. He didn't have all the nice things. He didn't have the pumped up kicks that his other classmates did. He ended up feeling resentful for that. You get resentment, you get somebody that's being picked on. And back, most of us here see a lot of gray hair here, I like that. Back in our day, you would have met outside the school and duked it out. Got it over with. Nowadays, folks don't do that. And you get these folks who are timid, a lot of cases, cowardly. They want to strike out, and they not only want to strike out to hurt the people who they feel have been hurting them, but they think that they are going to get some glory for doing this. This is where the news media hurts us. Because any active shooting, what's the news media do?
Broadcasting everywhere.
They'll tell everything they can, and that just pumps them up. I normally don't use any of the shooters' names. I think we should never mention their names again. They should be forgotten like the cowards they are, and hopefully if they're not in their grave, they're going to end up in their grave soon. And forget about them. No way glorify what they did. In locations. Is there any place that an active shooting can't take place? I mean, you've had attempts in police stations. You've got to be prepared to face something like this, just about any place you go. I'm not saying become consumed with this. I am not saying, that should be your overpowering thoughts as I'm going to go out in public. You should develop good habits that will help you stay alive if you ever get into one of these situations. And we'll go over some cases today where had people been trained properly, I think the outcome would have been a lot different. People get real terrified because, oh, they got a gun. They get concerned because they are being told their last option is to fight. They can't run, they can't hide. Last option is fight. That's not the last option. The other last option is you sit there and cower and let the person come up and shoot you dead. If you're good with that, fine. I'm not. I'm going to go out hard. It's going to be tough. I want to make it as tough as it can be. That gun he's doing is going to do permanent damage to you. What do you have to lose? If you get in that situation, you got to develop the mindset in advance what you're going to do. Situational awareness. Yeah, I looked up situational awareness. I Googled it one time. I thought I'd find a good, solid definition of what situational awareness is. There was 20 or 30,000 definitions, everywhere from being aware of your surroundings to being aware of your inner self and blah, blah. Folks, when you're out in public, you got to know where you are and what's around you and all that goes on around you. Develop that. It's not something that, you should go out there like you're on the SWAT team every time you go out in public and looking around, but just develop good habits. And it's funny, it's my family, part of my family's right up there. Hi, honey. We go into a restaurant. It's always known now that leave that seat that's up against the wall for me. Anybody else do that in here? And you know what? Right off the bat, I saw 4 or 5 of you that I knew that's how it was going to be. Is that being afraid of anything? No, it's just being prepared. You want to protect your loved ones. You want to take care of business. Good habit to have. Another good habit to have is say you go into Walmart. I'm not telling you got to walk the perimeter of the place, look for all the exit doors, but as you pass an exit door, keep it in mind. So if something happens, you're not having to look for that exit door sign. You just say, someone back here, I'm out. Look for stuff like that. If you were in a multi-story building, you're going to want to know where the fire escapes are. They're going to have fire stairwells, stuff like that. Not only if you get a fire alarm, because you get a fire alarm, are elevators going to work? Nope. So you're going to need to know where those stairs are. If a shooting starts, are you going to want to go up there and push that elevator button and wait for it to show up? No. Pick up on things like that. I walk into a building right away, I'll just subconsciously, I'm starting to watch for things I could use as a weapon in case I had to. Most buildings, all public commercial buildings got them in, what do they have in there that you could use that makes a really great weapon? Fire extinguishers. Yes. Fire extinguishers are your friend. Fire extinguisher, I defy somebody to get accurate shots off if you are nailing them in the face with dry chemical. And once you hit them in the face with that, what do you do after that? You've got a nice club. Go ahead, and if you can knock their melon off, do it. Because law enforcement's going to thank you when they show up, because they know they're going home tonight. They didn't have to go after that shooter again. And I have been in situations, in training situations, where this one situation, a place I worked a few years back, this nice lady who worked in the office asked the deputy that I was working with on this, won't I get in trouble if I hit him in the face with the fire extinguisher? He said, no ma'am, I will buy you the biggest steak dinner you ever had. Because I know I'm going home tonight because you took them out. That's the mentality you gotta have. Other things you can use. You never know, anything that you could throw, anything you could hit them with. That same location, after we did training, I walked through the cubicle farm there where all the office folks work, and I started noticing there was all these nice ladies in there who had all these lovely little knickknacks. They had little sheepies, they had chickens, they had pictures of their grandkids. All of a sudden, I started seeing rocks these heavy steel things. So what's up with the new knickknacks? Well, after that training, I realized I didn't have anything good to throw. So we got some stuff now, and these women were planning on it. If anything started, they wanted to have stuff they knew they could throw that was gonna hurt somebody. I kind of liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. They were developing the right mindset. They were developing a mindset to survive. And that's what it's all about. Situational awareness includes knowing how to get out of an area, what you got to defend yourself. Also look for places you can hide. What kind of places do you want to have? We'll go in that when we get in run and fight a little bit better. But as you're walking through, keep that in mind. Good hiding places too. Let's talk about some behaviors. The behaviors are kind of wide-ranging, and in the FBI studies, this is one thing they did do good. Some of the behaviors we're going to talk about, no shooter had just one. So if you run into somebody that has one of these behaviors, don't be overly concerned by it. If they show 3 or 4 or more of these behaviors, then it's time to be concerned. Things like aggression. This person normally good, easy to get along with, all of a sudden they start being very aggressive. They start having outbursts. They start getting into clashes with people they work with, loved ones, people in their family. That's a concern. They're a good performer in school or work normally. And you see that starting to go down. You see that starting to slip away. Another concern. Are they having any kind of fixations about other active shootings? Are they becoming overly obsessed with information and news releases about active shootings? One example I'm going to give you here, people remember a few years ago there was a shooting in Dayton, Ohio. He went into a nightclub district. He had a AR-15 style pistol, big magazine. He fired 41, 42 rounds in about 40 seconds until a police officer showed up and shot him. This guy, and this sort of shows that people are not aware enough, people don't receive training. He dated a girl a couple times. First time they went out on a date, he said, hey, you want to go back to my place? And later on they interviewed this young lady and she said, you know, I thought maybe he's just kind of a fast mover. Said, okay. Went back to his place. She was going to see what happened next. Get to his place, said, hey, want to watch some videos? Okay, let's see what happens. He played videos of news releases of active shootings. Think that's a little concerning? She didn't know. She never had any training on it. She didn't say anything to anybody. Then later on, a shooting occurred. A bunch of people got hit, killed some of his old family in that. So big area of concern, being overly fascinated with active shooters, what they did, how they did it. A lot of them will study too, weapons use, methods, stuff like that, because they want to do better than the last one. They want a higher body count, they want more media coverage. It's what drives them. Video games. Any video game fanatics in here? Not saying all video games are bad, not saying everybody who watches video games is going to go nuts. But if somebody gets to the point, they become fixated on a violent video game to the point they can't separate video games from fact, that's concerning behavior. A big one, and I know some of you, I'm going to say this, some of you are going to say, I can't believe this happens. But it's called leakage. Because the majority of these folks, before they commit their act, will tell people about what they're going to do in one way or another. You shoot, everybody remember the Charleston AME church shooting? Where a coward went in and killed those wonderful people that were just in there trying to talk about God? In that case, he had a couple of his friends that he told everything. One of those friends is in jail because he didn't come forward. I don't know why the other one isn't, but he actually had planned on going to a university in the area first. But he realized that there was not a high enough concentration of African Americans in that university that would have raised he was hoping to start a civil war. So he focused on the Charleston AME Church. He told his friend he's going to do that. The friend said nothing. End up with those wonderful people losing their lives. So when somebody is talking about it, that's a concern. In my own job, it will kill me. Anybody here in HR? That's good, because I'm going to badmouth HR. In my company, if somebody tells employees they're going to kill somebody, they've had it with that supervisor, they're going to get a gun and shoot the place up. You're sort of in HR, but not really, Shelley. If they do that in my company, and HR finds out about it before we do in protection services, they will start an investigation, which may last a week or 10 days. And then they will come out and make a decision whether that person was actually dangerous or not. Anybody see a problem with that? Yep. If the person did present some kind of danger, we'd have dead people. So whenever, I tell people when I go out and do my training in the company, whenever you hear it, you report it to your supervisor, your manager, whoever. If they don't do anything, you call law enforcement. Because the minute we hand it over to law enforcement, it's on them and they know how to handle it. We had a situation at one of my facilities in Columbus, got reported to us from an outside agency. It got to them sort of sideways. It started off as a child welfare issue. Other things came out. Here, this young man who worked at one of our facilities was posting online he was going to kill people. He posted on there that he was going to wait across the street from our parking lot on a little hill there with his AR-15 and start shooting at people as they got off shift. I was lucky I was able to get in touch with the right people with the Columbus, Ohio Police Department, their counterterrorism task force who handles that. I was headed home. I get a call from a detective on the CCT, or counterterrorism, no, CTTF. I get a phone call from him. He says, when can you meet me at the facility? I said, I can turn around, come back, I'll be there in 30 minutes. Get back here in 30 minutes, they got 4 guys from the counterterrorism task force, suited up, gunned up, wanted to look around the facility, wanted to go out and start hunting for this guy. They knew how to handle it, they knew how to respond. Made me feel good. They should have, the people at the facility should have reported this a lot sooner, but I mean, if that isn't leakage, what is it? When you post it online, you're gonna do it. You gotta be concerned about that. Over-fascination with weapons. I know I would consider myself a gun nut, love guns. I'm sure we probably got at least 1 or 2 people in here like guns. But if people become too obsessed with it, I'll give you an example. Young man I worked with years ago. We get a call from a young lady, said, I got to report something one of your officers did. She said, I was going in the building, stopped talking to the security officer there, and he asked me out on a date. He said, couldn't do it, got a boyfriend. He said, I know who your boyfriend is. And he is only going to look this big when I'm looking at him through the scope on my rifle. We got that young man out of there. That young man was former military. He had a book of all his guns, pictures of all his guns, the name he gave each gun, all the pertinent information on that gun, all the nomenclature, all the stats on it. He had an issue. And as we started looking into it, there were some other problems he had too. So he was removed from the area, and I hope he's doing well. I hope they got him help. But I think that was a save. That was a possible save. That was not outright leakage, but saying something like that, if it doesn't get reported, not good. So remember, with those behaviors, any one of them, 2 of them, not a concern. 3, 4, or more, you need to be reporting it to somebody. And who do you report it to? 66% of the people who think somebody's getting ready to commit an act of shooting will go talk to the shooter. It's their friend, it's their brother, it's their cousin, it's whoever, neighbor. They think they have relationships. Some of those people have died. Either that or that shooter's gonna talk to them to the point that they think he's okay, he's not gonna do anything. If somebody says they're gonna kill somebody, report it to the police.
They teach you in a lot of classes to de-escalate.
Pardon me?
They teach you in a lot of classes to de-escalate. That's why they teach you.
I know, and I do de-escalation for the company, and I had problems when they started trying to get me to do that, because I said back in my day, de-escalation was a 5D cell mag light, and it took about 10 seconds. De-escalation is a good thing, but when somebody says they're gonna kill somebody, there is no de-escalation. Call the police. Get them involved. They know how to handle it. They will make sure that that person is taken care of, so they're not gonna be a threat. Anything else you do might work, might not. I don't want to be put in that position. Any questions on that? Any other comments on that? Like I say, listen to me, don't, but I'm just telling you how I feel and how I think it is. One thing I'm going to talk about before we get in run, hide, fight. Has anybody ever heard of OODA loop? Had some experience with OODA loop? People will say, how do you expect me to stand any chance of getting over on a guy with a gun? Colonel, I believe it was John Roberts, I'm thinking, United States Air Force fighter pilot many years ago, was trying to come up with a way to give our fighter pilots an edge when they were in a dogfight. He came up with OODA loop. What's it stand for?
Adapt, overcome.
Oh, no, that's Heartbreak Ridge.
That's what?
That's Heartbreak Ridge.
No, orient. Why can't I think of the acronym?
You're starting off right.
Orient, operate,
Everybody's good on orient.
yeah, decide, yeah, I can't.
Observe, orient, decide, and act. Good Colonel found out that anytime you're going to do something, first thing you're going to have to do is observe. Say, okay, there's a person I want to shoot. Then you're going to have to orient. You're going to have to decide, okay, that person is uphill for me, I'm down here. You're calculating in your mind what you're going to have to do to put hits on target. Then you have to decide to do that act. Once you decide to do that act, you're going to act. If anything happens along the way, it's not only, you're not going to be able to go back to the previous step in that, you're going to have to start from the beginning. This isn't something that's going to give you minutes. Something's going to give you seconds. If you're going against somebody with a gun, if you get seconds, you are blessed. So think about that. Anything you can do, scream, yell, throw anything that you have. And that's one thing, I left it over here. I tell the folks when I'm doing this with my company, I say, what if we don't have anything to throw? I say, I bet every one of you has one of these things with you. In one of those situations, that's the best use for it. I had 2 facilities down in Texas, distribution centers. There, the vice president over them was so into this, they had like little field days for each distribution center where they got old mannequins out, fire extinguishers that were no longer certifiable, let people shoot fire extinguishers at them, then they got old cell phones they were going to trash, and people got to come up and throw cell phones at the mannequins. They sent me videos of this, it was incredible. Because people were going up there, you could tell they had no confidence level at all. One young lady saw her flip that cell phone, it hit that mannequin, hit it good, made it jump back. She was like, wow, my cell phone, I'm going to go after them. I got it. So getting into it, realizing what you got, learning how to use it, it's all part of the planning, part of the training for it. But OODA loop, knowing how to use that to your advantage, breaking that shooter's OODA loop is gonna give you seconds you need to react. Now, you can't say, I'm gonna throw something in his face. When it hits him, I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do next. You buy yourself a second or two, you gotta be ready to react. You've gotta be ready to go in there and take the next step. You're shooting them in the face with dry chemical, you get a break, you see that gun pointing away from you, it's time to go give them a big kiss with that big red tank. Always know what your next step's gonna be. You're not gonna do that if you don't think about this in advance. Something that you have to plan in your head, so when it ever happens, you know right off the bat what you're gonna have to do, how it's gonna work. Any questions on OODA loop?
How do you spell that? OODA loop.
OODA loop.
L-O-O-D loop?
Yep,
Like repeat?
yep. Yeah, because it is a big loop. Just goes round, any break, you go back to the first one, back to observe. Another thing I want to get to is there are so many cases that you wonder how the active shooting ever took place because of some of the indicators there were in advance. Stoneman Douglas High School, Florida. The young man who was the shooter down there, who they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with his sorry self, he had had so many issues with law enforcement, it was ridiculous. I tried to count all of them up. I quit counting at 30-some contacts with law enforcement and with social service agencies. And he was still walking the streets. We have any Uber drivers in here? Let's all pretend you're an Uber driver. If you're an Uber driver and you get a call to pick somebody up that wants to go to high school, let's say Stoneman Douglas High School, and you get there and you see a young man carrying a rifle case, you gonna be concerned with that?
Yeah.
Think you might take him to the high school and drop him off and not tell anybody? That actually happened. It's out there. Everybody remember the theater shooting in Colorado years ago with the Joker, the squirrely redheaded fella who, by the way, had one of the highest percentage of hits on target to anybody because he used a shotgun. If you're sitting in a theater and somebody gets up and walks down to the front of the theater, goes out an exit door, then props that exit door open, you're going to sit there and say, well, that's okay, you probably just want to go out to his car and he's going to come back in. You better be concerned, because that's what he did. When he walked back in, he started shooting. There are indicators out there that so many people will overlook. If you see something that you think is suspicious, get it reported. I see all these cases that have happened. If somebody who had seen those things had told the right person, they probably wouldn't have happened, or they wouldn't have been as bad. And you hear this so much that you sort of get sick of it, but see something, say something. You can't say, well, in 99, probably even higher than that, probably 9,999 times out of 10,000, there's not going to be a problem. But can you live with yourself? If it does turn out bad, you had the ability to stop it and you didn't. Don't put yourself in that position. You see something that you think is wrong, get it investigated. Tell the right people about it. Law enforcement now, they were a little slow in Columbine and thereafter, but they've got the point now, most law enforcement agencies, you tell them there's a potential active shooter, they're going to be there. And they're going to come out strong. So be aware, if you see something concerning, let somebody know.
Add something to that.
Sure.
People get comfortable and complacent and also think that somebody else will handle it, so they'll just leave it alone.
Yeah, I always think somebody else is going to report it, so why should I? Then a lot of things end up getting missed and a lot of people end up getting hurt. Very good point. Appreciate that. But folks, I'm telling you, if you think, if your spider senses start tingling, you think something is wrong, let somebody know about it so it can get checked out. Oh, here we are. Anybody sick of hearing run, hide, fight? You hear that all the time. I watched the DHS video I don't know how many times, and I'm sorry I critique it because there are things in there I see that concern me. I always run into problems with this whenever I'm teaching a class because people seem to think I am giving them a choice of running, hiding, or fighting. I'm not giving you the choice, the shooter is. If you have the ability to run, run. The best thing you can do is remove yourself from the situation. Don't say, well, you know, I'm going to go straight to going after the shooter. No, get yourself out. If somebody in there refuses to run, coworker, whatever, if you want to stay there and take a chance of dying with them, that is your right to do so. But you are under no moral or legal obligation to stay there and die with them. And some people will freeze. Some people will become terrified and will not have the ability to do so. Don't let yourself go down. Get yourself out of there. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, you owe it to everybody that you might end up helping some point in life. Get out of there and live. When you run, where do you go when you get out of the building? Run until you know you're in some kind of a safe area. Run to the next building. Run as far as you have to. You know that you're safe. Should you take off in your car? No. Don't take off in your car. Because you take off in your car, are you going to be driving the speed limit? If police have been called and they're responding and all of a sudden they see a car flying out of the area where the shooting was reported, they're going to have to take time to turn around and chase that car down, stop it, make sure it's not the shooter. Don't put them in that position. Let them respond to the area so they can do what they have to do to get the individual terminated. Don't become more of a problem. Once you get to a safe area, if you have the ability to do so, call 911, tell them who you are, where you are, and what happened. They're going to want that information. Why do you need to let them know that you are away and you are okay? If it's in a business where they know who's supposed to be in there, they're going to be searching for you after they get the situation neutralized. Make sure you're okay, or make sure you're not laying in some corner someplace bleeding to death. So let 911 know who you are, where you are, and your status. That's going to save a lot of problems in the long run. Also, when you run, put yourself in the mindset of the police officers who respond to this, who are outside. Police officers at Columbine operated under the old theory. You get a situation like that, you go, first officer's in, set up an inner perimeter. The next officers arrive, set up an outer perimeter. Inner perimeter keeps everybody in, outer perimeter keeps everybody out. Meanwhile, the shooters are walking around shooting more kids. Now, police officers show up, they're going in, and they are there to put bullets on the bad guy. That's all there is to it. That's how they train. So if you are running out and they are coming in, you see a potential for conflict there, do exactly what they tell you to. Come out, make sure that your hands are out in the open as soon as you get out of the building. Make sure that everybody can see it. Don't be holding your cell phone in your hand, because cell phones are what color most of the time? Black. What are a lot of guns color? Don't have that in your hand. Finger spread. Follow any directions they give you, because they're going to treat you like a bad guy until they are sure that you are not. Why? They want to go home tonight. They want to see their family. Simple. It's not they hate you, anything else. They know what they got to do to get home and see mama and the kids. Or, excuse me, let me be proper here, or daddy and the kids. Your belongings, if you have to run, leave them all behind. Is there anything, say you're in your office, is there anything at your desk that is worth losing your life over? Yet people will stop to get stuff because, and I'm gonna get off the side a little bit here because I see it all the time. They do how they're trained. When it comes to getting out of the building, most people in a business setting are trained through fire drills. Most people I've seen when it comes to fire drills, the minute that alarm goes off, do they get out? They say, I wonder if this is real or not. Oh man, I don't believe we're gonna have to go outside, it's hot outside. Oh, wait a minute, it might rain, I'm gonna get my jacket before we go out. That's how they train, because when something happens, you are not gonna differentiate. I tell people, that fire alarm goes off, don't question it, you're practicing. You're practicing not only for fires, you are practicing for active shooters. The minute you hear the threat, get out. Don't question it. Another thing with making the decision to run, you know, they have documented proof, so many incidents where people will be in a building, they hear gunshots being fired. Gunshots do not sound like gunshots a lot of time in the building. They're not as loud, you might hear a little pop, pop, pop. People will actually say, what is that? Did that sound like gun? Wait, I'm gonna go check it out. Folks, if you think it's gunfire, get out. Just like you hear a fire alarm, get out. You hear gunfire, what you think might be gunfire, get out. If you were running out, you see one of your coworkers, loved one, whatever, shot laying there. Should you try to help them? Only if you want to risk your life. They were in a line of fire, might still be in line of fire, you go to help them out. If I was a shooter, that's one thing I would do. Watch whoever I shot to see if somebody comes try to help, because then I'm going to get my body count up. Think about that. It's not pleasant, it's not nice, but if you want to survive, you got to develop that mindset. Hiding. When you hide, you may not have a nice room to hide in and just be under a desk, whatever you can get to conceal yourself. And it's funny because I have had employees in our situation. We have optics labs and all kinds of other things. You look at it, you think there's no place to hide here. Employees have found places to hide, and some of them really take it to heart. You're like, no, and I'm not hiding behind this machine because it's all aluminum. This one over here is cast iron, got a cast iron base. I'm getting behind it. That's the way you got to think. You have some employees say, okay, I know where this one room is in the middle of the building. It's got all concrete block walls and it's got a steel door that's lockable. They're thinking. If you have the ability to get in a room. Another thing I got to bring up that you're going to shake your head at, if you're hiding in a room and the door can't be locked, make sure that door opens in before you start trying to barricade it. People have done that, and I can only imagine the shooter when he gets up there going, how y'all doing? What did you think you were doing? You gotta think about these things in advance, because I guarantee you when you're under pressure, you're not gonna think about it. Get inside that room, door open and in, barricade it with whatever you can. Get that blocked. When you get it blocked, stay off to the side, stay away from the door. Shooter comes in, can't get in the door, what's the first thing he's probably gonna do? Shoot the door. Virginia Tech, the shooter there, was a real piece of work. He had locked down the doors from the exterior that exited that building, and then he went up, walked through classrooms, started shooting people. By the time he got to the second floor, some students up there who had not been trained figured it out on their own. One room upstairs, they moved a heavy piece of furniture in front of it. Other room, 2 students laid down with their feet up against the door. The shooter came, couldn't get in the door, shot at the lock set, which couldn't be locked anyway, so I don't know why he shot at it. But luckily, the students were laying there, the bullets went over them. They did get some fragments of the door that stuck in them, but they kept them from coming in. Got mad at the one that they had a heavy piece of furniture in front of. Then after he couldn't get into those, you know what he did? Went back and walked through all the rooms where he had already shot people, found the ones laying on the floor, shot them again, make sure they're dead. This guy, we'll back up a little bit to things that should have been stopped. About 3 weeks before the shooting, he was at a gun range. People here go to gun range? Anybody? You're pretty safety conscious there? What do you think you would do at the gun range you go to if you laid a target on the ground, walked up to it, and shot down into it? Would they let you do that, or would they report it to somebody? The Virginia Tech shooter gun range he went to, they didn't say anything. They watched him do it. When they were interviewed later, they said, we thought that was kind of strange. Now, he had a plan in place. He knew that he was going to have the opportunity to go through and shoot those people while they're laying down. Or people were going to try to jump and hide down in the aisles and lay down, and he was going to be able to get them then. So, folks, it's back to see something, say something. There's a good opportunity there to stop it. Nobody did.
Could I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I worked at a large nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 75 rooms where the residents were with no locks, like you said, but they were solid fire doors. Against the law to have one of those little rubber wedges that you wedge your door open with, against the law to have one in a nursing home or to use them. So it was against company policy to have one anywhere, because they were afraid somebody would prop a door open at some point. So I advised all the staff that everyone, you get one of those wedges and you put it in your uniform pocket. And if there's an active shooter and you're caught in one of those rooms or in a hallway or whatever, you get in one of those rooms and kick that thing in the bottom of that door, and they are very effective.
Mm-hmm.
And that, as you said, that shooter's not gonna spend a lot of time on that one door.
Yep.
So that's very effective to keep handy.
Door wedges. If you're in a situation like that, concerned, and the facility you're in isn't taking the appropriate measures to protect you, carry one of those door wedges. Good way to stop it. Make sure that it's actually going to work on the floor material. I've seen some might slip depending on what the floor material is, but that's a good workaround, good hack to have that might work for you. Thank you. When you're hiding, stay quiet and out of view. That's a no-brainer. If you've got this with you, turn it off. Best thing to do. You would hate to find a really good hiding place, then all of a sudden have ding, 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 and it's going to be some ridiculous text that you didn't really need to receive, and that's going to give take a chance of giving your location away. If you have one of these with you and you hide, get it turned off. If you're hiding, you're in a room, you're barricaded in a room. Let me in, it's Sally. You gotta open that door? Once you get barricaded, you don't open that door for anything. If I'm a bad guy and I find Sally out running around and I know you're barricaded in the room, I'm gonna tell Sally, you go up there, you get them to open the door, I'll let you go home. And then as soon as the door opens, we'll pop Sally and then we'll go in and shoot everybody else. Somebody shows up and says, law enforcement, open the door, what are you gonna do? Get on one of your cell phones, call 911, tell them who you are, where you are, you're barricaded in a room, somebody's knocking on the door, says they're law enforcement. They will be able to find out who it is. Do not open that door until they verify that that's a law enforcement officer outside your door. Questions on that? Now we're in fight. It's a good time. If you get to the point, as a last resort, if you can't run, you can't hide, you have to fight. I'm gonna fall back on what this guy that when I was still in the Air Force doing ground launched cruise missiles, he was a trainer, Captain Combat Cooper, we called him. He would always beat into our heads. When you engage the enemy, You hit them with everything you've got, you either annihilate them or take away their will to fight. I think that says it pretty simple. If you decide to fight, if you're put in that situation, you don't want to lay there and get shot doing nothing, you're going to fight. Hit them with everything that you can, and do not stop. And you're saying, well, Jeff, the guy's got to go. And you're dealing with a coward. You are dealing with a coward that thinks he needs to use a gun to get the one up on you. You start screaming and yelling at him, going after him, throwing stuff at him. You get close, you're hitting him, you're clawing his eyes, you're doing whatever you have to do. That's where your opportunity for victory comes in. Because I guarantee you, 90% of these guys are gonna cower and stop. Charleston AME shooting, little weasel who went in and shot those folks. He weighed 120 pounds at the time of the shooting. And I'm not trying to make fun of any of the people in there or be disrespectful, but there were some folks in there who were not tiny. They were some substantial folks. They had all kinds of things in there. They had purses, they had Bibles, they had chairs against this 120-pound guy. Had they been trained, had somebody told them, had they sat through just a little class like this, to let them know, give them some idea that they could get the one up on this guy with a gun, things might have turned out different. You need the training. You need to be ready to respond. You need to realize what you have. And then when you engage this guy, take him down. And you know, swarming, there's anybody ever hear of the Alice classes they have for active shooter training? I became an Alice instructor years ago before they went all commercial. They teach a thing called swarming too. If you're in a room, the guy comes in, have people on each side of the door, jump on them, drop to the floor, take them down with you, then everybody just jump on them. If you can't breathe, oh well. You've got them contained, you keep them down till law enforcement gets there. Law enforcement, call the coroner, whatever. You don't care if you hurt them or not. Get them down, contain them. So that's something to consider too if you got a bunch of people there. Anybody have any questions on run, hide, fight?
There was a shooting in Nashville at a school and at the hospital, where they told us to barricade the door and break the window and jump, but I mean, depending on what, so, you know, like say a story or something like that.
And that's, if you have the ability to do that, that's great too.
Take a chair.
There are so many places now where you're just not going to be able to do that. And you got to make sure that you're not putting yourself in more danger by jumping out. Make sure that the person is still actually in the building shooting and hasn't gone outside. And another thing is, make sure if you get the opportunity to do that, make sure that you are ready to comply with any law enforcement or anybody who may be out there. Because then again, you know, you're law enforcement, you're showing up, all of a sudden you see somebody coming out the window.
Your cell phone, because they make you keep it in your locker.
What's that?
You won't have your cell phone with you because they make you keep it in your locker.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're on duty.
Yeah, well, and that's good, but I'm just saying, you get outside, respond. If you have law enforcement there, make sure you're ready to comply with them and go with the game plan, and they'll take care of you after that. That's a good point too. If you get barricaded and you can't get out safely through a window or whatever, do it.
How does what we do change when we have children or grandchildren with us?
You got a plan for that. You're probably going to get more to a situation where you're going to end up hiding. So that's why it's more important to be aware of what you got going on around you so you can hide. If they're old enough and you can run, that's great. If they're smaller, I would recommend knowing where you could probably go to hide. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so say I'm in school and my teacher tells me to stay in this spot, but there's a better way for me to get out. Do I listen to them and stay where they tell me to, or do I do what I think's best?
Good question.
That is a situation where it's a personal decision for you. I can't give you an answer. I could tell you what I told my own daughter, because she came home one day about the time I was getting into all this, said, "Dad, we had a lockdown drill today and they did it wrong." And I told her at that point, if you ever have a real situation and you know the shooter's not outside that door, you know how to get out and run. That's what I told my daughter. Because her school at the time, the classroom she was in when they did this, had on the hallway wall was glass from halfway up to the ceiling. They had them go to the back corner of the building and duck down in the corner. I know the deputy who was doing the ALICE training for all the schools in the county. He had already trained them. The school district had failed to initiate the changeover to what they were trained by ALICE, which would not have them cowering down in the back of a room. That's old school. Let's touch real quick on, everybody remember Sandy Hook?
Yeah.
Terrible situation. Young man who did that, he had been so far out of it, he and his mom had just been communicating by text for several months. He lived in the same house. When she was getting ready to sell the house, she had to get an RV in the backyard so he could stay back there so he wouldn't be upset by people coming to see the house. She thought, when she was a school teacher, she thought it'd be a good idea to take him to the range. Maybe this would help out with his mental issues, him getting to learn how to shoot, becoming responsible. Didn't work out so well. You know who the first person was he shot?
Her.
Mom shot her in the face, then went to the school, then shot all those kids. I have my own belief on this, and this is my own belief. Anybody have any ideas on why they tore that school down and rebuilt someplace else? They say it was because they were, it was out of respect to those who had died there, that they didn't want to keep that school there in place. I'll throw something else out there for thought. They were using a hazardous weather plan, an inclement weather plan for their active shooter plan, which had kids going to restrooms with no doors on them. Those kids were shot, were in rooms with no doors on them. How long would it be before people one day figured that out? That school was still standing, still being used.
Right.
Like I say, this is just my own opinion, but it's one of those things that make you go, Yes, ma'am.
What do you think about teachers being trained in keeping guns locked and
I love it. Our school district up in Ohio, it was just a couple years ago, somebody came out and said, we think it's really bad, and we should not have teachers carrying guns in school. And our school district superintendent said, they've been doing it for 5 years and nobody knew about it. It's not a problem. Yes, ma'am.
What about what happened in Tennessee, I think it was, where finally some guy that was at a barber shop went in and helped because police came there and it took them like a half an hour or so before they even started doing anything in the school.
Well, and that's, down in Texas, in Uvalde,
Oh, that was it,
they, that was a huge failure on the part of the Uvalde Police Department. They were wrong in so many ways, and their chief has been fired, others have been fired. The only acceptable thing for way for law enforcement to respond now is the minute they get there, even if they don't have others there, the first guy there goes in and puts pressure on the shooter. If the shooter knows law enforcement's coming in, majority of the time they're going to end up capping themselves. They figure it's over. These folks are such cowards, they do not want to go up against law enforcement face to face. So they will end up taking their own life. A lot of the shootings, you look at the time they lasted, 5 to 6 minutes. It takes law enforcement on average anywhere from 5 to 12 minutes to respond. So they're not planning on shooting it out with law enforcement. They're planning on ending it before that. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Is there anything that you can keep other, I don't know how to use guns or anything, but is there anything else like a pepper spray, taser, anything that is legal that you can keep for yourself? Or
There are things you can use, and it depends on where you are, what you are allowed to have. One thing that I love to tell people, anybody have a wasp and hornet problem?
I do right in the backseat of my car, where I can grab it.
Everybody should have wasp and hornet problem, and keep some of that wasp and hornet spray that shoots 15 to 18 feet.
Hornet, the hornet is.
Because that's a nerve agent. You get that in somebody's eyes, I defy them to start firing accurate shots.
Bear spray.
Bear spray, and that's the problem you get with bear spray, they're gonna say that's OC spray, that is some kind of weapon. Wasp and hornet spray, if you got a wasp and hornet problem, and when this happened, you just happen to have that close to you and you decide to use it.
Just in case, you have to fight, you have, something so you can shoot the shooter,
Then, that's something you can keep around, that really nobody's gonna end up saying anything about, they're not gonna think about it. If you're at work, the safety guy might get on you if you don't have a safety data sheet on it, but, there are all kinds of things.
What did he say?
Pardon me?
What did he say?
He was just talking about having something with you that you could end up using to fight with if you needed to. And that's the wasp and hornet spray falls into that. Really, anything, there's all kinds of aerosols you can spray that's gonna mess with somebody. And that's why you gotta be imaginative. There's so many things you can use out there. You're only restricted by your imagination.
You can always have tools. Like in my center console, I have one of those little pry bar kind of things, double-ended. You can have a ratchet.
Oh.
They give you a hard time about tools.
I just had somebody buy a whole box of screwdrivers from me today for $1. That's a whole lot of weapons there. Anybody can carry a screwdriver. You're just trying to fix something, a Leatherman tool, whatever. I'm really big on stuff you can throw though. That's huge.
Padlock on the end of a belt looks pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What?
Heavy buckle on a belt.
Let's talk about once the threat's neutralized. Say you're successful with the fire extinguisher, you knock the guy's head off. Law enforcement's responding, medics are responding, you got people shot and injured. How many people here work in an area or carry a personal first aid kit or an IFAC that have the items you would need for a major trauma? Chest wounds, got a couple. Majority of workplace first aid kits got nothing for that. So what are you gonna do? You're in a workplace, you got people laying there bleeding. What else do you have at your disposal that you can use?
You have a belt, you have cloth.
Clothing in it?
Shirt, yeah,
Roll of paper towels?
yeah.
Bags of paper towels, and a lot of people in the medical world get irritated when I say this, but it works. Any feminine hygiene products,
Yeah.
so they'll say, well, you're gonna get some linen wound, you're gonna stop a person from bleeding out. Know what you have available in your area in case this ever happens, so you're gonna be able to respond. Because medics, unless they have a tactical medic with the SWAT team coming in, when the SWAT team finally gets there, you're gonna be the only chance these people have survived. It's gonna be on you. I recommend everybody know a little first aid, but if you don't, use common sense. Do something to stop the bleeding. Try to make them comfortable. Try to do what you can for them until help gets in there. Because you're gonna be it until help arrives. Questions on that?
Carry gloves.
How much time we have left, Shelley?
You've been gone for an hour and 7 minutes.
So still got a few minutes? Could I have 7 or 8 volunteers? Anybody want to volunteer? Come on down here, sit in the seat. I just need some volunteers here. Oh, that's why I was thinking, man, Jeff, I thought you had 8 chairs there. You're fine. You can come down and sit in one of these if you want to. Okay. Anybody else want to volunteer? You are toting, so I'm gonna use you as my certifying official. Can you certify that this gun is inoperable in plastic?
It is.
I will be using this in this demonstration. Nobody else, if you're armed, don't get excited. It's a fake. Don't make me an accident. Don't want to do that.
Come on, we need 4 more people. Come on.
Come on, some heroes.
4 more people.
Come on, guys.
Come on. Come on.
Come on.
Look at this. This is what family's for. I love you, honey.
Need 2 more. 2 more. Come on. Here we go. Come on.
Now, come on. If I was Bob Barker saying, come on down, everybody would come running.
We need 1 more. Come on down. Oh, okay.
And that's good. I can use 1 chair. We're gonna do a little demonstration. Would you mind moving over 1 so I can sit on the end here? Just make it work a little bit better. Charleston AME church shooting. The failure there was, number 1, they didn't have locked doors. And I know a lot of people in churches get really upset when you say you need to lock the doors and you have to control who comes in there. I wish we didn't have to do that. I wish anybody had a desire to walk into a church could do so. But we live in this age where you've got to be ready to control who's coming in. Second thing, they had no training whatsoever. They didn't know what was going on. So that little rascal who did those folks wrong walked into the Charleston AME church, walked into a room. They had the, I believe it was Pinckney, Pastor Pinckney was in there. Other people, more people than this, were kind of limited by room. He walked in there. Those good people accepted him, even though he looked like a squirrel, because you see pictures of him then, you look at the guy and you go, this guy is not right. They welcomed him, they let him sit down. He came in, sat down with those folks while they're doing a Bible study. He sat there with them for about an hour. Talked to the folks, interjected a couple times. After an hour, he got up. He produced a Glock 45 caliber handgun. He walked around, boom, boom, boom. He was firing about 6 shots a minute. Not a high rate of fire. It wasn't happening quick. Boom, boom, boom. He walked around shooting those people. Some of those good people pleaded with him to not do what he was doing. What'd he do? Kept shooting. Boom, boom. One young lady, he said, I'm not shooting you. You know why I'm not shooting you? Because you need to tell the story of what happened. After 6 minutes and over 60 rounds, he put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger, and he was out of ammo. He had no intention of living through that. How'd that make you folks feel, sitting here going through that? Yeah, not a good feeling, is it? Different scenario. I walk up to the first person and haul off and just smack her. What are you folks going to do? They're going to be all over me. What's the difference between a slap and a gun? Gun's permanent. You're going to allow them to take your life and not do anything about it? When you were more than happy to jump up there when it was just a slap fight? You got to get the right mindset, folks. You got to get the right mindset. It's a terrible feeling to sit there and go through something like this. When I went through Alice training, they had all of us go to the back of a classroom and cower down. And they had a SWAT guy who was going through the class who was a shooter, had an airsoft gun. And they had him coming down the hallway. And they had one of those little air horns to signify gunshots. We sat there for 5 minutes, cowering in that corner, hearing those gunshots coming, hearing that horn going off. When he walked in, he stood there and shot us all, multiple times. When they called a stop to that exercise, we turned around, and that SWAT officer was crying. He said this was terrible, it was too easy. We gotta make ourselves hard targets, folks. We gotta have training, we gotta develop the right mindset if we're gonna stop this ridiculousness. Thank you, folks. Anybody have any questions or any comments on what you just saw? No.
Why would it just sit there?
Hmm?
Why would that many people just sit there?
Because the guy had a gun, and that's what their mindset was. You have a gun, you better listen to him. There's no way around it because he has a gun.
Why the pepper for first? I think it's better for life, for me.
And they were good folks who were doing what they knew how to do, which was pray for them, which was try to talk to them. And I mean, this one incident just sends shivers up my spine, because had they been trained, had they had some security on the outside of the church, had they locked doors, never would have happened. But the majority of the place you go to, look at the church down in Texas where the little nut job who got kicked out of the Air Force went in, walked in through unlocked doors, shot a whole bunch of people. Wasn't until he was leaving and one of the neighbors who had heard what happened went down and got his own AR-15 out, engaged the guy, hit him, and then they got into a little car chase. The guy ended up crashing his car, was in the median, shot himself. People do what they're trained to do. You're not going to be just sitting there, have something new like that come up and have the right answer to it. I'm giving you the right answer. Prepare for it now. Get the proper mindset, know what to do, know how you're going to react, run it through your mind. Not saying become obsessed with it, I'm just saying become proficient with your response if anything like this ever happens. Dig into it a little bit deeper. I'm not saying everything I'm saying is right. Get in there, dig into it deeper. And I see folks here who got a lot of parents, we probably got some grandparents here. Be aware of what schools are doing and what they should be doing. If you don't like how schools are handling things, if they're still behind the times, if they have plans like Sandy Hook did that are putting your kids in danger if something happens, you need to raise a little hell with them. Because I know how school districts work. School districts like to keep everything quiet, like to keep everything normal. They don't like, a lot of drama and stuff that might cause an issue. Cause a little drama. If they're not prepared to respond and keep your kids safe, let them know your displeasure and don't back down. Keep going until they get it straightened out. Because those kids, you get kids in school, that's a really, really touchy subject with me, because those kids should be able, everybody should be able to go someplace and be reasonably safe. Those kids, we are sending them to school. That school should be protecting them and keeping them safe. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
You have to train your children like if you're hiding and be quiet. I mean, this should be preparation for the children.
Well, and kids will need a little bit different tactics depending on their age. Like high school kids will be good with what we went through today. The younger they get, you need to soften it a little bit. You don't want to take young kids and terrify them, and they have special courses for those kids on training them on how to respond. They're not, you get a 6 or 7 year old, they're not going to decipher there's gunshots coming, I need to do this. And you're in a situation there where you need to have a teacher who's educated on the right response. Say, okay, come on, let's go do this. We've got to do this now. When I tell you to do this, you got to move. You don't stop. You don't think about it. Come on, let's go. You got to really get those kids sort of indoctrinated to that, so the responses go easy. But they have programs, training programs set up for all ages in schools. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
So, maybe 5 years ago, I was afraid to even touch a gun, and I made myself start going to classes. We have a girls class that goes every month. And I feel like I'm a lot more prepared, and even running it through your mind, it's not, you're not doing it physically, where, tactical training. Just doing it through your mind, I think kind of the same thing, like if you're sitting in church, maybe get your church to start having rules, you know, at your church.
In churches, let me touch on that real quick. How many people here, their church has a security team? Are they a trained security team? Well-trained? Churches are interesting. Churches, right after an active shooting, especially if it involves a church, if they haven't done anything yet, they'll be saying, oh, we need to do something about active shooters. And they'll reach out to people, they'll try to get people to come in and talk to them, they'll say, we'll meet next week. And I bet you 80% of the time, before that day, they're gonna say, oh, we gotta put it off for another week. If they do that, they're gonna put it off for good. They're gonna forget about it by the third week. You also get churches who don't seek out the proper guidance and do things a little wrong. Churches will say, okay, we're gonna have a security team. You're on our security team. Not gonna work. First thing you better do is check with their insurance company. Unless they want to get in a bunch of trouble. Because the insurance company is going to dictate, if you have a security team, how they need to be trained, how they need to be handled. Other than that, you know, sometimes they go the other way. They just get a handful of people, or you can see some churches say, okay, you can conceal carry in here. Oh, that's great. You got all kinds of people, different levels of training, who are all think they're going to engage a shooter, and you're liable to have a couple hundred different minds in there all doing different things because you haven't trained them. Folks, it's not going to work out well. Churches have a hard time trying to get, a lot of churches, our church included, they got a security team, they don't want the people in the church to have any kind of training. It would really help for people to know that security team's there. If something starts, you just better get out of the gunfire. Don't get up and get in the way. So churches, urge your churches, keep an eye on them. If you're not happy with the way things are running, bring it up to them. So, you know, there may be a better way. There are organizations we can reach out to get help and do that, because I love churches having security teams. I hate that it's necessary, but it is. But I like to see them do it right, make sure nobody gets hurt. Sir, you have a question?
To the woman that asked, why wouldn't anyone do anything? That was a question that you asked. My question to you is, when is the last time you punched someone? It's a serious question. Then for everyone in the room,
It's an unusual situation.
Yes.
But like it's a human instinct to fight or flight, and if they just sat there and watched their peers being popped off.
it's a human
Seems
instinct
like the
for
last brick
flight.
or so should have.
I could ask everyone here in this room, when was the last time you've been in a fight?
Never.
Okay, got never.
Long time?
Long time ago. Yeah. If you do not train for a situation as he is telling you, you will fall to the level of your training. So if you don't train to fight, you will never get up or stand up to fight. If you don't train with a firearm, you will never have the ability that if a problem is coming in your way, will you be able to draw and fire accurately? That's why the people would just sit there. That's what they're used to doing. They're used to sitting there like, oh, there's a problem over there. As I said earlier, somebody else will handle it. So they're looking to everybody to the side of them, oh, somebody else is going to handle it. Or somebody's going to call the police, and then the police are going to show up.
I get that.
Yes.
If somebody else is gonna be responsible.
Yep.
Me.
Right.
And then what have we been trained to do? What has television and the movies trained us to do? Somebody points a gun at you. Gotta listen to them, got a gun. And I come from a little bit different background, I think you have as well. Just because somebody's got a gun doesn't make them right. If I had gone along with that, I would have been gone many, many years ago. What's that?
It doesn't make them invincible.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, when you look at these folks, the guy from Charleston AME Church, little bum, 120 pounds. I look around the room here, I think probably the vast majority of you could have taken that guy on and kicked his butt without trying too hard. You gotta look at it and be realistic. You got a 120-pound guy with a gun, don't think, uh-oh, I need to listen to what he says. Just start looking at him and think, how am I gonna get over on him? I gotta break his OODA loop and give myself that second I need to get in on him. Gouge his eyes out, hit him in the ears, cup his ears, give him a headache, grab him by the throat, do whatever you can.
Hell, I was sitting on one.
Yeah, and those things are great. You get nailed with those, that's definitely gonna break your OODA loop. And if you hit them right, it's gonna also liable to mess with their ability to aim a weapon or anything else. There's all kinds of things out there, folks. Don't go easy. Don't go down easy, that's all I'm saying. Get ready. If anything ever happens, which I hope it doesn't, I want you to have somewhere in the back of your mind what to do. Yes, ma'am.
So I also, reevaluating all my stuff, I took some classes till I couldn't put, but I think taking self-defense classes will also help you mentally. Even if you're not using a gun, you can at least protect yourself somehow, take somebody out.
And that prepares you to engage. Because that's a lot of people that have never had to do that or haven't had to do it for many years. And that's the big step. And, folks that all of a sudden are confronting an active shooter, like I say, if they haven't prepared for it, they haven't prepared for it mentally, they haven't done any training, it's a rough thing to get over, but you've got seconds to make a choice of whether you're gonna go easy or whether you're gonna make it difficult for them.
I'm thinking like if I'm the first to react, I pick up my chair, and I stand up with my chair, okay, who shoots me first? Well, anyways, who shoots me first? But maybe that jolts people enough to be like, to jump into action, and what do I have? Just to grab their chair, and everybody grab a chair, like, you can't shoot all of us at once.
And that's another thing training can do. If you get enough people trained to realize if somebody goes for them. Plane crash, Flight 93, the crash, when they decided to go for the cockpit. They made a decision to go. They had several people that went after it, decided to do it. It's a bad feeling. I've run into that situation in law enforcement. One time had this big drunk guy. You found out later he was also on some angel dust, and he was going around this barbecue cook-off just punching people. We found him, and I was a reserve deputy. I had an older reserve deputy with me. We decided, okay, we need to go up and approach this guy. I'm going to talk to him. You stand off to the side. We're going to see if we can talk him down. If not, we're going to have to take him down. And the whole while I'm looking at this guy thinking, man, this is really going to hurt. And I go walking up, and I say, hey, you, come here. And the guy comes up, and he was towering over me. He comes up to me, and he's just looking like he's ready to duke it out. It's going to get ugly. And I'm thinking, I got my back up here, and I look at my partner standing back there 20 feet behind me. Don't be that person. If somebody goes for it, support them. Be in there right behind them and go for it. It's a bad feeling to think that you got some support and it's not there. So when somebody goes for it, everybody go. Yes, ma'am.
That was a very good exercise. And on the heels of what she was saying, when you went and you shot the first person, I went back to class Friday morning, when TJ was saying that 80 to 85% of handgun shootings are survivable, and immediately when you did the first one, I thought, well, not in the head, so I'm not gonna let it be in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And all I could do was sit there. All I could do was sit there, and I just watched you. And when you stopped the person beside me, and then you went around, and I wanted to grab Shelly's side so bad.
That's good. I like that.
You're just getting ready to get it, Jeff. And I just wanted up and to go. But that is good information. I think people should know that with handguns, I assume that statistic's correct, or they wouldn't be giving it. If it's 80 to 85% survivable with a handgun caliber, that
You know, I've been through firearms training where they basically demonstrated OODA loop. They have different exercises they can do where they will give you a chance to react after somebody will do something and starts running towards you. And you know, law enforcement world, they tell you you need 21 feet in between you and somebody to be safe. Because if you have anything less than that, they can get to you before you have time to react and draw your weapon. 21 feet. So if you're closer than 21 feet, you've got an opportunity. If you have any way to break their OODA loop, you've got an opportunity. So keep that in mind. Keep running it through your head.
Thank you. You did great.
Thank you very much. I enjoy this.
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to let everyone know, like, the women in here, if they ever wanted to take shooting classes, I found that there's a girl and a gun club, it's all over the country, and it's a good way to get started.
Yeah, there's a lot of groups like that out there. I'm trying to get some of them to come to our event up in Ohio next year, which, by the way, is Heartland Self-Reliance Conference. It'll be May 16th, 15th, and 16th in Millersburg, Ohio. But we got 4 or 5 chapters in that area, and I don't know what they think I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get them out and give them the opportunity to spread the word. But good groups like that, get yourself some training, because if you're going to carry a firearm, make sure you're trained not just how to hit the target, but how to do everything else. One thing I want to do real quickly, how many concealed carriers we have in here? If you are ever in a situation where you're in a facility where there is an active shooter, and you engage that active shooter, you take him down, what are you going to do next?
Get a lawyer.
We're talking a little bit sooner than that.
Not get shot by the cops.
Put your gun down.
When the minute you have them down, first thing you got to be concerned about is, are they by themselves? So you're going to want to get in a position where you can check everything out, keep an eye on everything, and keep your gun in your hand while you're doing that. Hopefully you have a cell phone with you. If not, direct somebody else in the area who has a cell phone, call 911. Tell them who you are, what happened. Be very specific. Don't make any general statements. Don't make any statements like, I wasted that MF. You need to get all emotion out of it and tell them what happened. I am in this mall. There was somebody going around shooting people. I am a concealed carrier. I engaged them, took them down. They are laying here bleeding. I am standing here with them at gunpoint. I am wearing a gray shirt, gray pants. I will stay here in this position until you tell me it's time to either reholster my weapon or put it down. When law enforcement, they will keep you on the line, or the person calling for you on the line. When law enforcement gets there, they will let you know what they want you to do. There have been situations where somebody, a bystander, they hit one down in Texas, shot the shooter, standing there with a gun over a bleeding body. When law enforcement shows up, guess what happens? Like I said, when they show up now, they're there to put bullets on the bad guy. And don't want to look like a bad guy when they do. Folks, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.